Culture is something many people believe to be their ordinary everyday lives. Culture is the shared, personal, and learned life experiences of a group of individuals who have a common set of values, norms, and traditions. The complexity of culture may vary for everyone, including the way we continue to view it, such as traditional or changing. The way we conduct ourselves and the way we think all contributes from our culture, which we learned our entire lives. The poem 99 Things to Do Before You Die, written by Nyla Northson, gives her interpretation that the Indian culture is much more traditional than the white culture, but these activities allow us to analyze how traditional each culture remains and how they are changing. In the sense that the modern world is advancing each and every day, goes to show that people are altering and rearranging their own culture. They do not follow their traditional culture, which involves working hard and not just relaxing every day. For example, the author used dive off a yacht in the Aegean to show how people in the white culture use boats for luxury now instead of using them to fish as the Indians do to make a living. They use things now as entertainment and self pleasure instead of using things for their intended purpose. The pastime boats were not created for luxury. They were used for working and traveling by the Indians and whites. Surely some people may still fish and travel by boats, but there are certainly not many. When beliefs and values of people in a certain culture are changing, they tend to believe more in materialistic things such as money. The white culture seems to have become completely reliant on money instead of natural resources. The use of money gives them access to all of the things they do, such as go on trips and buy expensive items. The activities the white culture now engages in are not traditional. For example, go to Monaco for the Grand Prix. To explain that the white culture will travel miles just to see cars race around instead of planting crops or watching over animals. The Indian culture, on the other hand, tell fascinating oral myths and tell stories passed down by generation after generation. This tradition came from their ancestors, and since they learned it, they will do the same with the generation to come. The Indian culture possesses activities and traits that are passed down from generation until present time. North Sun used watch a Miwok deer dance, attend a Happy Kachina dance, owl dance with the Yamaka. To show that dancing is a traditional asset to the Indian culture, it shows that the Indian culture not only watches but participate in the dances known throughout their culture. They contain a passion to keep their culture alive and not change it as the white culture does. They still practice the dances and way of expressing themselves through the dance, just as the ancestors had done. The Indian culture feels that the past generation kept the culture going the same way as their ancestors. Therefore, it will only be appropriate that they do the same. Tradition is a very important part of their lives because it identifies who they are and what their culture really stands for. It seems as if they want to honor their culture and they accept it just the way it already is embedded in their lives. The Indian culture possesses activities and traits that are passed down from generation until present times. Northern youth watch a Miwok dance, deer dance, attend a Hofsky Kachina dance, owl dance with the Yamaha, to show that the dancing is a traditional asset to the Indian culture. It shows that the Indian culture not only watches but participates in the dances known throughout their culture. They contain a passion to keep their culture alive and not change it as the white culture does. They still practice the dances and the way of expressing themselves through the dance, just as their ancestors had done. The Indian culture feels the past generation kept the culture going the same way as their ancestors, therefore it would only be appropriate that they do the same. Tradition is an important part of their lives because it identifies who they really are and what their culture really stands for. It seems as if they want to honor their culture and accept it just the way it already is embedded in their lives. We all can clearly see that the Indian culture revolves around tradition. White culture does not seem to be centered around as much culture, but they seem to be making a different culture of their own. Their culture may not follow every aspect detail of their ancestors, but it somehow rearranges the culture to fit with the modern day. On the other hand, Indians were in the wild and they still continue to do traditional things such as watch deer dances or do owl dances that were once done by their ancestors. They both have the traditional love down, except the white culture transformed their way of expressing it. This all proves that the Indian culture is extremely more traditional than the white. Coming from my personal interpretation, the Indian culture shows a more traditional culture than the white culture because of the continuous rituals they do from their ancestors. They somewhat still think in the same manner as the past generation. On the other hand, the white culture seems to have changed a great deal. They seem to communicate on different levels than their ancestors and view culture at a more materialistic stance or point of view.